Thank you so much. Thanks to Dorianne and Tyrus and to Nancy and everybody at the Brockton Writers Series for inviting me here today. I'm so thrilled to be here. Really excited to be here also to share with you my new novel called The Town with No Noise, and it's actually going to have its birthday tomorrow. It's an official release day. Get a sneak preview of the book. And I thought I'd start talking a little bit about the cover first before I dive into the book itself. The cover, which I adore, is part of a painting by Egon Schiele. I don't know if people are familiar with his work. He was a Viennese painter. He died in 1917 flu. But during the Nazi period in Germany, his work was considered degenerate and by the Nazis. Nonetheless, it became very, very valuable. And this picture was one of many that was looted by the Nazis, taken from Jewish owners. And it was just restituted, which means the heirs of the original owner of the painting reached a settlement with the then owners in 2014. Took all those years for the family to get some justice for that part of the loss. And Egon Schiele and the painting of his does appear in my novel, so that's another reason I thought it was a really perfect cover for A Town with No Noise. That's a picture of a town. So, and I also want to talk about the title, A Town with No Noise. People have responded to that title and think, oh, that sounds so intriguing. And I actually came across a line in a poem by Derek Walcott that has those words in it, A Town with No Noise. And when I read the poem, it was just so beautiful. So I've included it as an epigraph in my book as well. And I thought I'd read the poem to you because it gives you a little bit of information about the theme of the novel, or one of the themes of the novel. So the poem starts, this page, I'm going to put my readers on because I am getting old. This page is a cloud between whose fraying edges a headland with mountains appears brokenly, then is hidden again until what emerges from the now cloudless blue is the grooved sea and the whole self-naming island, its ochre verges, its shadow-plunged valleys, and a coiled road threading the fishing villages, the white, silent surges of combers along the coast, where a line of gulls has arrowed into the widening harbor of a town with no noise. Its streets growing closer, like print you can now read. 2 cruise ships, schooners, a tug, ancestral canoes, as a cloud slowly covers the page and it goes white again and the book comes to a close. So in a way, the poem is about seeing a landscape from a distance and then getting closer and closer and finding out what's revealed and actually real when you get down close into the space. And in a way, that's what my narrator does in my novel, A Town with No Noise, in actually 2 different towns. So just to give you a little bit of context about the storylines in the book and these towns, my narrator's name is Sam, and she's a writer. She's becoming a writer, and she's been assigned to write an article about a town called Upton Bay, which is just a couple of hours from Toronto, a very wealthy town. And in part 1 of the book, she and her boyfriend drive to the town so she can be there and do some research and write her article. And they stay with her boyfriend's grandfather, who lives in the town. And as the more she stays and the longer she looks at the town and observes people and goings on in the town, the more she discovers about the town not being so quiet and not being so perfect and beautiful after all. So a lot of things come to the surface about how the town works, and also about the family history of her boyfriend during World War II in Germany. Then the book shifts in part 2, and Sam becomes the researcher of another small town, this time in Norway. in occupied Norway during World War II. So Sam is informed by her mother that they have family history. They're Norwegian in background, and there is a lot to learn about their family's life in Norway while it was occupied by Germany. And some family issues surface for Sam that she then takes onto herself and becomes involved in a major research project and writes about what happened to a particular Jewish family in that town in Norway and also her grandmother. So she brings to life her grandmother's voice in part 2 of the book. And so a lot of the themes intersect and cross over between parts 1 and 2, but Sam is the narrator throughout. And so that gives you kind of the storyline about where Sam goes and what she's up to. So I thought I'd share all that with you before I just read a bit from the beginning of the novel. And the part I'm going to read is about Sam and Jay, who live in Toronto, and it takes place the day before they leave for Upton Bay and introduces a little bit about what's going on in their lives. I'm driving Jay through the trees. It is hot, humid, and my skirt has ridden up high on my thighs, which are stuck to the cracked black leather of the car seat. Jay's is tilted as far back as it will go. He is lying nearly flat with one pillow underneath him and another behind his head, gazing up through the open sunroof that lost its glazed panel years ago. He's smiling when I glance at him. At a red light, exhaust from other engines begins to fill up the cabin, as Jay calls it, because he feels like he's flying on these trips, these runs, as we call them. We tour the valley on the road that winds around mansions set well back from the street. Downtown shrinks behind us as we approach the curving expressway to head north, where traffic will eventually thin out. The trees become fewer and fewer as we snake our way to Midtown. I stop at a suburban bakery where I pick out 2 slices of Black Forest cake, Jay's favorite, which we'll eat later with tea on the balcony of my apartment. I get back into the stifling car and start driving home. What do you see now, Jay? Gray. No, it's slate. It's a light slate color. Anything else? No, not sure. It's getting late, and Jay sounds tired. The pain medication he takes makes him drowsy. It's stronger than Tylenol, but not as strong as OxyContin. Something in between, the pharmacist said when I picked up the prescription, showing her my ID as well as Jay's. She almost didn't give me the bag. When I told her Jay was in the parking lot, that she could go out there if she wanted to make sure his face matched the photograph on his health card, she sighed and handed it over. I signed the logbook and she rang me through. Close your eyes and rest a little, Jay. I don't want to miss the moon. It's probably too cloudy to see it tonight. Close your eyes. But I know he won't. I'm hoping the clouds don't mean rain, even if it would cool off the air. The tarp covering the sunroof blew off last night, despite the bungee cord that hooked through the windows. I'll have to remember to buy another one for our trip tomorrow. Jay once had his own car, an old pale yellow Corolla, but his ex-roommate Sean had taken it in lieu of rent owed when Jay moved out. I suppose Sean inherited the parking tickets too. Jay had a collection on the dash that he'd never been able to pay, but he didn't worry about the fines because his license plates, borrowed from a friend, were for New Brunswick. Tickets don't stick to out-of-province plates, said this friend, laughing, as if you'd be a fool to think people carried responsibility for their actions around with them like luggage. Jay is nearly 27, but he hasn't given up on becoming a star. He just needs the right band, he says. That's the trouble with being a drummer. You need other people to help make the music. And Jay isn't much good at getting along with people or at fitting in. He's a loner, like me, which is probably what attracted me to him in the first place. Tomorrow, we pack up and head to Upton Bay, where Jay's grandparents live. I've never been there, but I'm going to be writing an article about the place for a friend who freelances. Nick has too much work to write it himself, even though he tells me it'll be an easy piece. We'll be staying with Jay's grandparents because even modest bed and breakfasts in town charge more than my fee would cover. Unlike Jay, who seems to have no concerns about his own debts, I'm still paying off the student loans I took to supplement my scholarship, so being able to stay with his family is a bonus. Nick says he's looking for a brief, descriptive piece only to promote tourism in the area. I'm supposed to feature the young entrepreneurs who are transforming the town's economy via the maturing wine industry. He thinks I'll find more than enough information to write the article. This is my first writing assignment, and if I do a decent job, I might get others. My boss at the cafe made me co-manager last year, and I appreciate the raise that came with it, but I'm bored with pouring coffee for a living. My mother thinks I can do better with my degree, but it's only a BA. Everybody has a BA these days. It's almost what a high school diploma used to be. Jay didn't even graduate from high school. He told me his grandfather Otto paid for him to attend a private school, but Jay was kicked out in his final year for smoking in class, and he never went back. Apparently, Otto would pay for Jay to go to university as a mature student, too, if he'd only settle on a real career and stop this musician nonsense. Jay was named after his father, but when he was a child, his parents started calling him JJ, short for John Jr. He and his father were never close. Then, after the divorce, Jay moved away with his mother, and they grew even more distant. At 15, he decided to drop the extra J. He's not spoken to his dad in over 10 years. Jay told me a little about his family background. His grandfather's name is Otto Hermann Sommerfeld, but Jay calls him Pop. He and his wife Greta emigrated from Germany to Canada as farm laborers in the early 50s. Otto owned hotels in Upton for years, and as soon as Jay's grandmother dropped dead, he married one of the housekeeping staff. Jay won't mind seeing Pop again, he says, but he doesn't want his father to find out he's in town. I don't know what went on between them while Jay was growing up, and I've never asked, but based on his mood, whenever he mentions his dad, it must have been ugly.